All right, so in this module, we are going to be talking about one of the most important things in marketing, if I'm honest with you, is going to be why you need to use unique mechanisms. Now, you've probably heard of unique mechanisms before, but in this video, I'm actually going to show you the 3 different types of unique mechanisms to actually break them down, as well as help you guys understand like why mechanisms are so powerful and give you some phenomenal examples around unique mechanisms. So here's a quote that I want to start off with in typical Spencer fashion. His new and different is better than better. And this one is actually not from Harry. It's from Kyle Milligan, who was a legend. And what I want to talk about before we get into the examples and the actual 3 different types is that unique mechanisms essentially serve one main job, one core job. To me, what they actually do is they inspire hope. Okay. And what I mean by that is that they create this belief that like this will actually work, that this is not like everything else. Okay. And if your mechanism does that, you have succeeded. Okay. Unique mechanisms are what makes the difference between someone buying from you or someone buying from a different brand or buying from someone else. And now this comes into, play just because of the fact that, again, like whether, like if you serve them the mechanism that resonates with them and again, inspires hope for them, they will buy from you versus someone who doesn't do that. But more importantly, when you position unique mechanisms the right way, it makes it feel like you are the only place that has that mechanism. You are the only product, you're the only brand that has that specific mechanism, and other people don't. Right. And so not only does it build the belief and inspire the hope, but it creates this bias that like they have to now buy from you versus someone else. So this plays in both factors where if you're not going to use a mechanism, someone else will, and they're probably going to win the customer because they're creating belief. But more importantly, they're also isolating themselves that they're the people that own this mechanism, and that if you want the mechanism that's actually going to deliver the result, you have to purchase from them. And so again, just to break down unique mechanisms a little bit further, I'm talking about the lizard brain here, or Kyle kind of talks about the lizard brain. And basically what that is just like your default brain is it wants to categorize any messaging that it gets so it doesn't have to expend energy. Again, if we had to think about every single piece of content that we see, it would we wouldn't be able to survive. Like it would be a disaster, right? And so the brain has these filters, all right? And most marketing messages get ignored because they just get categorized in this thing. They just get filtered essentially because again, when the brain categorizes your mechanism, it filters it, but it just sees it as like, oh, it's just another one of those. Like, oh, it's just that, right? We already have seen it. It's not new, right? And again, if your message and your mechanism is being filtered, it means it's being ignored because it already knows that. And it's like, it's just one of those. We can cancel that out. All right, brain, we don't have to think about this. Okay. And the thing is that the desires are there, right? The desire is there, okay, in your customers, and it does want to be served, but your message about how to serve desires is getting ignored because it's the same as everything else. And this bottom line here is really just an emphasis for copywriting in general, that if you don't know how to communicate to people, like if you don't know how to write messaging the right way to communicate that you can actually help these people, it's just going to get filtered and it's just going to get ignored because it's the same as everybody else's. Okay. And so again, it doesn't have to be better. It just has to be new. Now, if you can make it better, a lot of times if you make something better, it will as a result be new because it's a better version of it, which then makes it new. And so this is not me saying that like, don't make your product better. What I'm saying is that there's a reason why some of these people who have these sophisticated products that really don't have anything, if you look at them, that are like overly unique, but they just position it in a way that is new, right? They use a mechanism that talks about how it's new, or they pull and they identify that, hey, we've built this for this new avatar or for this new thing. Then it starts to create this belief. And that's how some of these brands who are literally just copying other people's products are scaling super hard. Okay. So again, this is just the fact. Like I can't ignore the fact that, again, a lot of the times your mechanism doesn't even have to be better. It just has to be new. Now, again, if you want to build something long-term, you should make it better. And then as a result of making it better, it does give you something new. Okay. Now, again, the main core message here that Kyle really hammers down, and I want to hammer down as well, is that the mechanism does all of the work. The reason why you can make the claims that you can make and that the product does what it can do is because of the mechanism. Okay. And your job is to help the customer understand that, especially in direct response, how the mechanism does it. Now, again, you can get overly technical with this and you can overly explain the mechanism and forget about what the desire is and what you're actually trying to help this person accomplish. But it's important that the customer feels like your mechanism can actually do the thing. Right. And so again, just having some quotations here when you're thinking about writing this, it's like this mechanism is what allows you to get X, right? You're not even saying it's like we just created this mechanism, right? We're not doing it for you. It's like this mechanism does it all, right? And you can kind of like remove yourself from it where it's like this mechanism that we created is so powerful. It's like, it's what allows you to get X. And it's what allowed, X person to get Y because they also use the mechanism and the mechanism worked for them, right? You'll probably, if you look closer now at some really great ads, they do this. They are able to explain how the mechanism helps people get what they want. Okay. And again, the biggest point here, because I said, the core job of the mechanism is to inspire hope. And what happens when people have hope? They believe, right? And so the mechanism is what builds belief. And that is super important for you guys to understand. Okay. So now that we've kind of discussed mechanisms and we know the importance of them, which I'm sure a lot of you guys already know, now let's get into the 3 different types of unique mechanisms. Okay. So number 1 is the new mechanism. Now, I used to call new mechanism, unique mechanism interchangeably, but this is actually like a true new mechanism. Okay. And so when you have a unique element, ingredient, or component that is truly unique. Okay. It's a proprietary formula. It's, some kind of, specific proprietary piece of technology that you use, some kind of specific chemical. The example that I can give you is, you guys have ever heard of the brand called Kizik? I obviously pulled up this CarePod brand, but there's another brand called Kizik where it's like they had this new technology that they invented where it's like you basically put your foot into a shoe and it's like it has this squish down back end so like you press it down and then it just pops back up. Right. And so that is fully 100% a new element, just like how CarePod had 100% new and unique element of it being stainless steel. And guys, this took us like a year to crack. And this was where I really saw the power of new mechanisms, where I was like, damn, if there's a product with an actual unique mechanism that is useful. Now, I will talk about that, but I want to take a second to break this down, where it's like, you can't just have a new mechanism just for the sake of having a new mechanism, right? Like, for example, if we just added lights on the bottom of this, right? And this is actually something that CarePod did. And I don't have access to their account anymore. And I'm not saying that this wasn't a good innovation. But for example, they created a new CarePod that has these LED lights underneath it, right? Now, is that a new mechanism? It's like, maybe it's the humidifier that like has mood lighting. Like, sure, that could look aesthetically, but when we compare that to the usefulness of a stainless steel mechanism, where again, the stainless steel not only makes it easier for it to clean, because you can basically boil water, like to clean your humidifier, you just fill that stainless steel thing with water and you boil it, or you just take it out and put it in the dishwasher. Or again, because it's stainless steel, it's not going to have this mold buildup or this, kind of gross. And again, this is a humidifier that blows air. So it's like, it allows you to kind of have this very clean and simple setup. And like, that is such a useful thing. The fact like that this is stainless steel is so useful. And then on top of that, plastics are something that scare a lot of people. Like, they don't want to be breathing in a lot of plastics or eating these microplastics or anything like that. And again, this is stainless steel. So this is such a useful new mechanism that it makes sense why it crushes, right? And the stainless steel built belief that it can actually be easier to clean and it will not have less mold buildup because it's stainless steel, right? So the mechanism is what does all of the work, right? And here though, going back to my little light analogy, where if there's the little lights around it, it's like, is that a new mechanism that maybe other humidifiers don't have? Yeah. But like, is that useful? Like, does that make it easier to clean for me? Does that mean that I'm breathing in less microplastics? Does that mean that I have less mold buildup? It's like, not really. It's like, it's just there for mood lighting and like, that's it. So it's very, very, very important that if you are thinking about adding additional new mechanisms, like, is it actually useful? Is this something that customers actually want and actually care about? Because again, for most humidifiers, when you look at them, they're a nightmare to clean. They have all these tiny little crevices. They build up mold everywhere. They're gross. They're plastic. Like, it's not ideal. Where this is a fantastic new mechanism because it's actually useful. And so I want to take some time to like really hammer this down, because a lot of you guys think you have a new mechanism that people care about, but if just because it's new doesn't mean doesn't mean that it's useful. Okay. Because it's new means that it will grab attention, but if it's not useful, it doesn't matter. So your mechanism also has to be useful. Okay. So really think about it when you're looking at your product and trying to find even some of the other mechanisms, because we're going to get into some more down below, it has to be useful and it has to actually do something that the customer cares about. Okay. Now, the second one here is the unspoken mechanism. And now the example that I have here is a little bit older, but there's basically what this means is that this is when you have a product where there's nothing really unique about it. Okay. But there are components of your product that others are not drawing attention to. Okay. And the best example of this is that I can show you, because I do have an example of how we applied this to scale a brand. You'll see that in a second. Lucky cigarettes, right? They just said it's toasted, right? But the truth is, as you can see down here, all cigarette companies toast their cigarettes. It's just nobody says it, which is what makes it an unspoken mechanism. And because they were essentially the first to say it's toasted, it became a unique mechanism, right? Here we're Lucky's cigarettes, it's toasted to taste better, right? Toasted equals that's the reason it has great taste. Toasted is what builds belief that it actually does taste better, right? Because it's toasted and it's visual, right? Like, ooh, yeah, toasted does sound kind of nice, right? Probably enhances the flavor. And so again, this is something that all cigarette companies do, but nobody was positioning it, nobody was marketing it, and this ad absolutely crushed for them. Okay. And this is honestly where we took a brand. As you can see here, we found a new mechanism for this brand. We joined them in July. We ended up finding a new mechanism in August. And look at the gap between August, September, October. Like, look how hard we were scaling, and look at where they are now. Right? They're 239%. You guys can see the numbers over here. I'm showing you that. But I want you guys to understand that this unspoken mechanism that we found for this brand, it wasn't fully unique. There were other brands that had this thing, right? If I go back again, just to clarify, a new mechanism is like there's no other brands that had this in the market. Like CarePod was very unique with this. Nobody else really had stainless. Now they're starting to pop up, but like this, they were first for the stainless steel market. Okay. And then when we get here, you can see that again, it's toasted. Every other company was doing this, but nobody was talking about it. But because it was a great marketing angle, it worked. And again, we did the exact same thing for this brand here. Again, for the sake of this owner, I can't say anything because I don't want to give it away. And he's asked for me to not share it, but it was something where I was like, okay, this is a very useful new mechanism that solves a very painful problem. Again, it has to be useful. Even these unspoken mechanisms, like if you think about it's toasted, right? There's other things that they could have said, like, that were unspoken where, oh, potentially we make them in Wyoming or wherever. It's like, well, is that really useful to the customer? Like maybe, maybe not, but it's toasted. It's useful to the customer. It's going to give it a bolder taste. It's going to enhance the flavor, and it's actually going to make sense for the customer as well. Okay. So really think through the mechanism as well. Again, is it useful and does it make sense and is it clear? Right? And then the third and final one is the renamed mechanism. Okay. And so the rename mechanism, this is one that I dug a little bit deeper into because the example that I gave before was like Hike Footwear. And then I gave another one about Trump bonus checks, or Kyle did. And I changed this one to Bone Broth because I think this one is hilarious, right? And it's absolutely crushing. So there's nothing really unique about your product. Okay. All of the components have likely had attention drawn to them. People know what they are, right? But you can transform the mechanism's name from ordinary to extraordinary, and most importantly, to new, right? So Kettle and Fire, I believe they're one of the leading people in that started this, but they came out with this bone broth. And bone broth is just a renamed mechanism. Okay. The truth is, chicken stock and chicken broth have existed forever, guys. Okay. Like literally since the dawn of time, people had chicken broth and stock. Okay. Now there's differences between stock and broth, but at the end of the day, it's called chicken broth, beef broth, right? But what did they do? They renamed it to bone broth. And they called it bone broth because it made it seem like it was more enhanced and it was like this new thing. It was richer. And again, it was a marketing term to differentiate it from store-bought low quality stock or store-bought, chicken broth. It's like, this is bone broth. It has all of these benefits. And again, what does this do? It communicates and creates the assumption that it's higher quality than stock. Oh, it's not chicken stock, it's bone broth. It's like, dude, or it's not chicken broth, it's bone broth, right? And so my point with this is this builds belief that it can actually deliver the benefits, and it's this new mechanism, right? It's this something that's unique. It's like, it's bone broth. I haven't heard that before. What's bone broth? Is that different from chicken broth? It's like, oh, it is, because it has all this extra stuff. There's more protein, all this kind of things, right? And so at the end of the day, it's like, this is just an example of something that's crushing right now that a lot of people have probably seen in today's world, right? Where it's like, this is literally happening right in front of us, where people are just renaming things, okay? And absolutely crushing because of it, okay? And again, if it's presented differently, it's new. And because it's new, it's better. A lot of people just automatically assume, again, the newest iPhone has to be the best iPhone. The newest, 2026 version of a car has to be the best, right? A lot of the times we assume, the newest microphone, the newest MacBook, the newest anything. It's like people usually assume that new is better, right? And so my point with this is that when you are presented in a different light, or like when you show that something is new, if it's something that a person hasn't seen before, they create the assumption that it's better, and it's your job to help them see that as well. Okay. So I want to give huge credits to Kyle Milligan. Again, absolute savage copywriter. He was part of the Evolve Copywriting 101. If you guys watched that little mini module that I did, but this is kind of the full blown version of it. And hopefully this gives you some really clear examples and helps you understand how to use these mechanisms. I would highly recommend that you go through in order and kind of start with, okay, do I actually have any pure new mechanisms that no other companies have? Start there. And then number two, if you really want to like double down, you can be like, okay, well, what are some new mechanisms that I could add, right? Sean talks about this in the product research stuff and the product development stuff. And then here you can get into the unspoken mechanisms. Okay, what are all the mechanisms that my product has? What are some things that are useful that people aren't talking about? And then the third and final one is like, okay, well, what is a mechanism that has been beat down, but is still really popular and, or, like sophisticated, but again, is something that people value and people see as useful, and how can I rename that and give it a new light to kind of essentially revive it? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Again, big credit to Kyle, and I'm excited for you guys to kind of go through this process to identify your mechanisms and start applying them to your marketing.